Hello, I'm Phil Kent. As a longtime journalist, I've covered the Capitol for over 30 years. Started with the Augusta Chronicle as an editorial writer, columnist, an editorial page editor, and now I'm currently with InsiderAdvantage, an internet news agency, and I publish James Magazine, which is seen all over the Capitol. I've really been fascinated with this office because in my coverage, Speaker Murphy's office was unique, and this is the most unique one since then, Representative Joe Wilkinson's office. So it's really great to do this tour, and I've known Representative Wilkinson a long time. He was first elected in 2000 to represent Sandy Springs. I was still with the Augusta Chronicle, interestingly, and I put in a plug over in Augusta for the election of Joe Wilkinson, and he used that very effectively in his campaign, so we always chuckle about that. But he is also, we call him one of the founding fathers of Sandy Springs, which he represented and which I've lived in for over 10 years. And that to me is a fantastic accomplishment. But when you look at everything in this office, we're going to provide a panorama of a wonderful history of his service, of Georgia history, modern Georgia history, and a little bit of history of the modern Georgia Republican Party, which started with Barry Goldwater. So this will be a fun tour.
Well, Phil, that's a very special part of this office, and I think it's just about everyone's favorite piece. This is an official photograph from the White House. As you know, I was on loan to the White House and in the Ford years and in the Reagan years, and I got to be very, very close to the Reagans. January 18th, 1989, 2 days before they left office, I went over to the East Wing, and Mrs. Reagan had saved that for me and wanted me to have it. So it's very, very special. Spent my career at the Coca-Cola Company, so I do keep a good bit of Coke memorabilia here. Atlanta Crackers, they were the local baseball team when I was growing up in Atlanta. Lots of hats. You wouldn't believe everything that we see during session. Now you'll see a bunch of ties from the Georgia Dental Association gives a tie every year, and this one, of course, flying pigs was the symbol of our efforts in Sandy Springs, having a certain senator say pigs will fly before you become a city. But I've kept these because as chair of the ethics committee, I'm also involved with the protocol and decorum and so forth in the House chamber. And we are required, men are required to wear a coat and tie. And every now and then somebody forgets. And they say, oh, you can run up to Joe's office and you'll find one. So there are a few of those here. Well, I've been in politics a long time, Phil, as you know. And I was a volunteer, young teenager, in the Goldwater for President campaign in 1963 and 1964. And that was the new airplane that had come out, the Boeing 727. And Goldwater had come to Atlanta, made a stop. This is at the Atlanta airport. And the name of the plane, Yai Bai Kin, which is home in the sky. And so, but Barry Goldwater will always be my hero. This is a composite of the governor's horse guard in 1892. And my great-grandfather is in it, Joseph Hardin. There are a number of names you'll recognize still in Atlanta. But my great-grandfather was so very proud to be part of the governor's horse guard. And do you know where they kept the horses? On the first floor of this Capitol for many years. So that's something. Again, things, Larry Walker. Mm-hmm. Larry served 40 years and was majority leader for 16 years. That's Lynn Westmoreland, who went on to Congress. But my first year in debate, I would listen and Larry would say, where is the clam oar for this bill? And I had to turn to my seatmate, Ann Mueller from Savannah. I said, Ms. Mueller, what is a clam oar? And she said, that's Larry's way of saying clamor. So I had some artists put together some clam oars, and Larry still likes it, and so does Lynn. He took it to Washington with him. You see some photographs around of the family, and this was really neat. David, as you know, our older son, TV sports anchor. This is the 2007 Georgia-Auburn game at Sanford Stadium, and my good friend Lauren Smith, who I worked for when I was in school, and David covered the game together. We just absolutely adore the governor and Mrs. Deal. They are just as genuine, wonderful people as you'll ever meet, great public servant, and as you know, our younger son Stuart worked for the governor, and that is where he met Kathleen Horn from Columbus, Georgia, and they're getting married. So I always kid the governor and Mrs. Deal that we owe them a lot. So this is my appointment by the Speaker to the Commission on the Preservation of the State Capitol, which is one of the reasons we're doing this video, because so many of the members of the commission said, you have got to preserve this. People need to see what it was like, because who knows when someone will do this again. I have, of course, I was the youngest paid staffer on the Callaway for Governor campaign. And then I actually was Bo's political assistant for a year, and we were very close. My nickname was Bojo. You will see airplanes, Lockheed produced aircraft all over this office, and people will come in and say, oh, is that the airplane you flew in the Navy? And I'll say, no, I didn't fly in the Navy, but this is the C-130. This is, and I grew up in a Lockheed family. My father worked there for many years. I said, no, this is the airplane that kept me clothed, fed, educated. It's because the C-130, which is still going strong, and I was able to get the governor to come out for the 60th anniversary last year of the C-130. So I owe a lot to these airplanes, and to the Lockheed, now Lockheed Martin. Well, that is, these are the three ships that I was assigned to in the Navy, and this is the USS Carl Vinson, named for our own Carl Vinson from Milledgeville, Georgia, and magnificent aircraft carrier. I think what is so special is that President Nixon came to Macon, Georgia in 1973 for the 100th anniversary of the Walter F. George School of Law, and that's where he announced that the next supercarrier would be named for Carl Vinson from Milledgeville, who was alive, and that was not done at that time, breaking precedent. Next is my first ship, USS Mississippi, guided missile cruiser. Of course, this is guided missile aircraft carrier, and my wife being from Mississippi, she really enjoyed the ship. The next is the USS George Washington. It's a sister ship to the Carl Vinson, and I was assigned to that ship during new ship construction, and during, I guess, when I deployed, it was to take President Clinton to Normandy. So that's what we did for the 50th anniversary. Well, this is, of course, Robert Edward Lee of Virginia, General Lee, and I really would encourage everyone to read the history of Robert E. Lee and what he stood for, and just incredible, incredible man. Now, right there is General James Ewell Brown Stewart, Jeb Stewart, and he was commander of cavalry under General Lee, the Army of Northern Virginia. And our younger son, Stewart, is named for Jeb Stewart. Just remarkable, special people in history. And people say, well, why didn't you name your son after Robert E. Lee? And I said, well, that would be a great burden and to live up to. But Jeb was a little looser and had a little more fun, so we figured that would work. And again, we're we're descended directly from Stuart's cavalry. My great-great-great-grandfather was a captain and rode in Philip's Legion with under Stuart and under Lee. So we have that connection. These commissions are, you get this every 2 years after you're elected. And I had thought, well, I'll just make sure I've got a beginning and an end. And then lo and behold, I stayed a lot longer than I thought I would, which I'm glad to do. So these are, I've always loved these. They, from the time I was an intern here, and I would help get them framed or design and so forth. But yeah, these are very special, and you can see the various Secretary of State signatures. Of course, Secretary Kemp, Brian Kemp, has signed most of these, and he is my much younger fraternity brother and dear friend. You know, you like I said, you see all the different family photos and so forth. Me with Uga. Here's a piece from the Georgia Conservancy where I was being honored for my work and saving, actually rewriting the law to protect turtles. This was from 2000, and it was the gathering at the Carl Vinson Institute. It's the biennial. I went to my first one in 1966, if you can imagine, working for Bo Calloway, and I was still, of course, in school at Georgia. This, again, just family photos. Oh, this is one with me with Speaker Murphy. Now, Speaker Murphy was not really fond of Republicans. He can be pretty rough. But he remembered me from the years I was an intern. And Bill Lee was his, of course, chief of staff, and Mr. Lee remembered me from being an intern. So they were very good to me, very, very nice to me. This, again, when we were trying to become a city of Sandy Springs, a certain member across the other side of the Capitol said, "Pigs will fly before Sandy Springs becomes a city." So we made the flying pig our campaign symbol. Can of Gold water from the campaign, 1964. Everyone wants to know who this skinny guy is, and that's when we introduced Diet Coke, July 8th, 1982, and that was one of the best days of my life. Again, the Carl Vinson. When I got elected and had my courtesy meeting with Speaker Murphy, he asked me, first he took 20 minutes to tell me that Herbert Hoover had destroyed America, but we had a very nice meeting, and he says, "Where do you want to sit?" And I said, "Sir, it would mean the world if I could be where Carl Vinson was," and that's what they got me. So I sat in Carl Vinson's seat for 4 years. And but he was, I'm so fortunate I got to spend as much time as I did with Carl Vinson the last couple of years of his life. And you'll see his portrait or pictures of him everywhere around here. And again, Goldwater's still my hero, always will be. I thought this was a good one. We call them gab slabs. Always do right. This will gratify some people and astonish the rest. Mark Twain. And he had that same, President Reagan had that same great sense of humor. The things, as you know, I have worked so hard on, and with this governor, we were able to do the Arts Council for Georgia, trying to promote more arts education, because it makes such a positive difference down the road for all these kids. So I have served on more than 25 nonprofit boards over the last 40 years. Currently still on the USO of Georgia board. That's going on 34 years. And I'm on the advisory board to the Jekyll Island Foundation and others. But these are, the Atlanta Community Food Bank, the Metropolitan Atlanta Crime Commission, the Arts Festival of Atlanta, and then I have been honored by all the conservation groups through the years. As a matter of fact, I was the first Republican legislator named Environmental Legislator of the Year, and I'm proud of that, because someone once asked me, it was a youth group that was studying at the Capitol, and they asked me, their question was, if you could only be remembered with one word, what would it be? Right? And I said, conservationist. And again, the various environmental awards, award from the Ambassador of Israel to the United States. I had passed the original Israel bonds bill, making it possible for Georgia to purchase Israel bonds, and the ambassador honored me. David and Lisa, when they got married 10 and a half years ago, and they're now back in Atlanta, 3 granddaughters. I have 3. This is Carl Vinson, and that's Mr. Vinson at the launch of the Carl Vinson, USS Carl Vinson in Newport News. That was March 15th, 1980, and he was right there. I mean, what a special man, what a devoted public servant. These are good friends. That's the current chancellor who will be retiring, Hank Huckabee. That's Dr. Valerie Hepburn, who had been president of College of Coastal Georgia, and me. And now this is the one that really throws people off, this photo. People say to me, who is that? And I go, that's me. And they go, but no, that guy's skinny and has black hair. But that was obviously when I was working for President and Mrs. Reagan. Let's see, which is that one? We were still a unincorporated, but the late Tom Lowe, Commissioner Lowe, got us a new fire station built right across from Riverwood High School, a fire station that would protect your house, being right down the street. So have a few of the shovels. You remember when I did the 44 rounds of radiation for prostate cancer, and thank goodness it worked. The radiation worked. Then the speaker honored me by pointing out I had not missed a day, not only during the radiation time, but in my 16 years in the House, I never missed a single day, a regular session or special session. Not missed one day, did not miss one day. Now, if I'd done that in college, I would have graduated sooner. And then this past year, working with the governor's office and so many animal rescue groups, we did my bill to make any adoptable dog the official dog of Georgia. You know, Georgia was a colony designed and built, Georgia was a colony that was to be a place to give people a second chance at life. So I said this would be a great symbol, and it would drive more adoptions. Plus, the interesting thing is it cost anywhere from $15 to $40 a day to keep an animal in a shelter. So we're talking millions and millions of dollars each year that will be saved by taxpayers doing that. Well, that's a Steve Penley original, and Penley is, he's so talented. And this was given to me by UPS in the headquarters, international headquarters in my district. And I had assisted them with their 100th anniversary. I had done, of course, worked at Coke, the Coca-Cola Company, and was heavily involved with our centennial, and then at Woodward Academy in College Park, where our sons graduated. I was on the committee for the 100th. And then in the Navy, I did 75th anniversaries, 100th anniversaries.